Ty Tabor. This is basically a rundown of the rig I use live and in the studio also, actually. I've been using this rig for a couple of years, really digging it. And basically the main brains to it, the tone to it that I love is this unit right here, which is called the M4, made by Egator Amplification. And basically it's a chassis that holds 4 separate modules with actual tubes. It's not amp modeling, but actual hardware tubes, preamp sections of a lot of the different popular amp and preamp sections that everybody loves. What I like to use, in mine I have 4 modules that I use normally. In the very top, I use a top boost, just like a Brian May box top boost kind of module. And then on over here, I use something that's sort of like a JCM 100 type module. Then on this module, I use something called a EG5, which is basically one of the Egator modules that they modded that's like a super hopped up Marshall type of thing on 11. It's a bad module, and it's the one that I use 90% of the time probably, or more. Then also down here I use another module called a COD, except that mine has been modified to have a lot of extra mid-range and to kind of emulate a Lab Series L5 amp, which is what my original King's X stuff I played through was. So I basically have modules that can carry me through the different eras of King's X and different tones that we've used through the years. And what I do is I run from that module, or from that amp, that preamp section, into some various effects. Right here is a Line 6 Echo Pro, which I also have one and I use a lot of times. Lately I've been using something by Fractal Audio called the Axe Effects Ultra, and I've been using it strictly just for its effects section, and kind of ignoring the modeling amp section of it, strictly because the effects themselves, by themselves, they're amazing. So basically I run from the Egator into my effects, which are stereo, and I run stereo out of the effects into a Randall RT250 power amp. And what I like about this is I can use 6L6 tubes in one side and use EL34 tubes in the other side, which give me a totally different, it's almost like playing through 2 different amps, because the tubes react differently. And you also have a really cool option with this amp that you can go right here on the front, and with a very simple meter that you can get at Radio Shack or whatever for testing electrical current, you just plug them in the hole here, and you can, with a screwdriver, set the bias of the tubes from the front of the power section. So you no longer have to take it somewhere to have, you know, have it made more warm or more cold or whatever, depending on what tone you're looking for. You can literally dial it in yourself on the front of the power amp itself. So that's why I really love the Randall RT250 as for power. It's the most versatile power that I've ever used before, and you no longer have to go to the shop to hop it up. You can do whatever you want to with it yourself. And that's basically the simple rig. I control it all with a Behringer MIDI foot pedal, and just basically call up different settings on my effects, and most of the time stay on the same amp. And occasionally switch to the COD for a Gretchen album type tone, or one of the Marshall things, one of the Marshall ones for something like Ear Candy or Dog Man. But like I said, 90%, maybe 95% of the time, it's the EG5 module, which is just probably one of the most popular ones they make, and there's a good reason for it. It's just a super bad sounding module. But the best thing about it is it's all real hardware, real tubes, with that real unpredictable play that you get with tubes that you cannot emulate. It's just impossible to emulate with software. And so it makes you have to be a little more on your game when you're playing, because it exposes mistakes a lot more easy also. But if you really want a good pure tone that you just can't get any other way, I highly recommend the Egator stuff and the Randall power. And that's basically the rundown of my rig. I don't really use any pedal effects. In some of the older stuff, I'd use a wah pedal every once in a while and things like that, but on the last several tours, I've literally been plugging straight into the amp, running it basically flat, and that's it. No extra power, pedals, nothing, just straight in. And one of the things I use to get a whole bunch of different tones without changing the amp is this Guilford guitar, which has some Seymour Duncan P-rails in it. And the cool thing about the P-rails is with the flip of a switch, you can have P90 sound with these pickups. Just in the back position, it's like having two P90s. In the middle position with this toggle, it's like having some really serious humbuckers. And in the front position, it's like having great single coil Strat tone. So it's like three separate guitars just by flipping the switch and without having to put down and pick up a Strat, and put down, pick up a Les Paul, put down, pick up something with P90s. Just flip this toggle and you've got those three different distinct tones, and you have a normal pickup selection between your pickups, whatever you have this set on, with whether P90, humbuckers, or single coil Strat type tone. You got regular three-way switch here. So you don't have to think about all this complicated stuff. Whatever it's set on, you've got a regular toggle for your pickups. It's just that simple. And I love everything being that simple. And I used to have a very, very complicated rig to try to get this kind of tone. So lucky for me, Bruce came up with a really great amp that doesn't have to have a bunch of extra stuff to make it sound good. And it's just a simple plug it in and go kind of situation. So that's what I'm using these days and digging on big time.